Hey, Midtown Podcast. Excited to be back with you guys again this week. I'm here with Austin.
Always here.
Always here.
It's always me and Jay.
Really excited to be with you again.
We got an amazing guest today, though.
I know. I don't know. I'm very excited about today. I'm very excited about today because what you don't know is I've often referenced you in our podcast. And
It's humbling.
Yeah, man. I've referenced the things that we talk about sometimes. And then also I've referenced several times, I don't think I would be sitting in this seat if it weren't for this guy right here.
Wow, God be the glory.
Yeah, I guarantee you I wouldn't be here. Yep. All those days in the car where you used to counsel me off of a ledge, you remember? Like you would talk me off that ledge and you would say, Jay, I see you so clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that was his statement to me, Austin. I see you so clear. And I was like, I don't know what that means, and kind of frustrated me, to be honest with you. Like, I'm glad you see clear right now because it's real foggy. But just excited.
But can I say what I saw?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure.
It won't
That was the moment.
We won't take the next 10 minutes, I promise you. But what I saw was faithfulness.
That's good.
In Hebrews 11, it's that big chapter that talks about the hall of faith, all these people who did great things by faith.
Yeah.
But one of my favorites in that chapter said, Abraham obeyed and went even when he didn't know where he was going.
Yeah.
And what I saw when I look at you is even though what you were going through felt like probably hell on wheels, you never stopped showing up. So even though Abraham didn't have a clue where he was going, I'm sure it wasn't always comfortable at the time.
Yeah.
He never stopped showing up. So when I say I saw you someone that was willing to show up, even when it felt like hell on wheels, you had living water. That's what I saw.
I appreciate it.
No doubt.
But I can see we about to run through a wall in this place. I just need a second just to sit. I was like,
You are,
never told me what he saw, so played it to him.
Now you know what he saw. All right. Now it's clear. Hey.
Yeah, we rode similar journeys. Like, same, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I appreciate it. I receive it.
A lot of it is just showing up, right? Yeah. I think sometimes we make it much more challenging than what it is. Like, just to keep it real. It's like, we always want to know what's going to happen, what's about to happen. Well, man, what's the point of faith?
Yeah, that's good.
If all your questions these days, what's going to happen? When I'm going to get my next check? When I'm going to meet a girl? My biological clock is ticking. When I was single, that was the big one. My biological clock is ticking. When will I meet somebody? When will things change? When will I get out of this?
Yeah.
And God is saying, why are you trying to get out of this when I'm living inside of you?
Yeah, it's good.
That's the real struggle, right? It's the really wanting to know how, what, when, where. When this whole Hebrews 11, which I did not plan on talking about today, is about a dude who never saw rain that built a boat.
Yeah.
It never rained. That's the biggest part of the story. It's not how big the ark was. It was the fact that it never rained.
Yeah.
Water was just springing up back then. This no sprinkler system. That was the original sprinkler system. Like, water was just sprinkling up. It was no rain from the sky. But we want too many answers, and there's no point of faith.
Yeah.
The answer is that you have the answer, who now takes you from glory to glory. So as the wind blows, so it is with my spirit. We have to stop trying to be a tree and be a leaf.
Yeah. It's good.
The leaves never stop, brothers. The leaves never stop moving. Like I got a song called Never Stop, Never Quit. No matter what direction you watch them old videos when tornadoes come, you always see the leaves. You know?
Yeah.
The leaves are always just like this. And God is saying, can I do that with you? It's in me you live and breathe and have your being. Will you just be a leaf? Will you let me be? Look, I haven't slick. Austin already was preaching before I got here. This is Austin's house, everybody, the true vine. You know, will you just be a branch on my vine? Can I just have permission? Because when I found you, all those questions didn't matter. When you were lost in your darkest hour, in your darkest place, did it really matter how I found you?
No. No, not at all.
The fact is that I found you and I came for you. And if I found you and I came for you, why are you so concerned with where I'm going to take you and how you're going to get there? What if I just called you to enjoy the ride?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
To become as a child, that's why children receive the kingdom. That's why children are entering the kingdom even before those who are grown and gone with gray hairs like ours. It's because they don't care. The moment you check them into Disneyland, they run around and find the next ride, baby.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that for me, I mean, I don't know where we're headed, but for me, it's really getting back to basics and remember for as many who received them, he gave the right to become children of God.
Yeah.
And we are such in a rush to become grown. It's not about knowing what he's going to do. It's about knowing him. I'm going to say it again. It's not about knowing what he's going to do. It's about knowing him. It's almost Resurrection Sunday and the power of his resurrection. And the same power that raised him from the dead now lives in you. Oh, my goodness.
Right.
And you're telling me we're concerned about how, what, when, where, how, when. You have the power of the resurrection.
Yeah.
The same power living in you. Enjoy your moment.
Right.
Enjoy your day. You're going to go through some storms, but those are used to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah. Good. Now, knowing your story, you were not always in this place. And not,
Oh, indeed.
not even close. No.
But come on, man.
So I'm interested because, like, we get to these seats now and we have these conversations and, like, I mean, what you're saying is 100% true, but there was a time in your life from New Orleans, born and raised, you got quite a story.
Yeah.
Take us into maybe before that, like, and then bring us into that place. Like, how do you come to this place of revelation with the Lord?
Man, look, I'm ready to tell it. So this might be the part that you really need to tune in for if you're anything like I was or am today. So I was born and raised, man, in New Orleans, Louisiana. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5 years old. So I was raised in the house with my mother, my grandmother, and my uncle. And so by the time I'm 7 or 8, I'm flying to California to go see my dad. So I'm literally flying first class because back then they didn't let you fly second class. So literally I'm like, real plate. This was back before peanuts and whatever else they're serving right now. So I
don't even think they give snacks.
Oh, no.
They cut it all down. Yeah.
It's $20 per peanut.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I'm eating. So my mom would walk me to the tunnel. My dad would come get me off the tunnel. And so went to Disney for the first time, experienced all that. But my dad remarried a lady. And unfortunately, man, she was just kind of very insecure in her treatment because my dad had 2 children before they got married. So it would be kind of negative treatment from her, kind of saying things even about my mom. I'm like, man, that makes no sense. Like, I'm just 7, 8 years old. So, I would come back home to New Orleans, get back with my mother. And as a child, like anybody, love sports, like, played a little ball. In New Orleans, it's so different because you have this great food, but you're always around nudity, because like Mardi Gras is normal. It's not like, people see it on TV,
Right.
but literally by the time you're a teenager,
to understand what you're saying.
So somebody literally will pull down the most healthiest, or I can say their blouse, for a piece of plastic that goes around your neck. So as a kid, oh great, I get a piece of plastic bead and you're willing to do this. So I'm still flying back to Cali. And I can remember this one time, it was really hot and heavy between me and my stepmom. And I said, you know what? Man, I'm not headed back here, man. This is it. Dad, you can have this. I'm just a child. If you can't figure out a way to better help me to be able to live this world, let me stay just with my mom. You have it. Like, I can't forgive this. I'm out. I didn't ask to come into this world. So as a teenager, made in my mind that we wouldn't talk as much. My mother, man, the example she showed of love, I'll always cherish. I remember one summer, money was tight. Winter, money was tight. And it rarely gets cold in New Orleans. Like, New Orleans hardly ever gets, like what y'all seeing here in Knoxville, I only saw snow 2 times in 20 years. Like we see it almost every single year. And so my mom takes me to the store and she buys me this big coat. And we come out the store and I'm like, well, Mom, what are you going to wear? And she looked at me and I always remember these words. She said, son, as long as you are warm, I don't need a coat. And from that point, began to kind of play keyboard a little bit, and got to high school and realized how beautiful women were, So I went to a school for the arts in high school, didn't care about the arts. I cared more about meeting more and more ladies. So it started with getting from, look, you had the arts the art is gonna be how many numbers can we get? You know, so we getting the art of phone numbers. You know, that was the art. You know what I mean? Y'all keep on paying some of those. Yeah. Y'all can have all that.
That was good.
And I'm literally in this school. Like, if you Google this dude, his name is John Baptiste. He got Grammys and everything. Now, he has a Netflix special. I was in school with that dude.
Wow.
So we went to a school called NOCA. Like, literally, like when I'm talking about school for the arts, I'm talking piano, jazz, dance, like Fame. If you ever saw the movie Fame, I went to Fame. So first part of the day was regular high school. Second part of the day was Fame. And I didn't care about Fame. I was all about, trombone shorty. You Google it. I was in school with these guys, literally same 4 years with these guys, and they went and got Grammys, and I'm on the podcast, which is just as great. Just as great, just as great, just as great. So it goes from, as you know, getting phone numbers to then moving into, well, how many of these women can we sleep with? How many women can we be intimate with? So that became more of a game than actually caring about these ladies for who they were or getting to know them, Then fast forward, you find out, okay, wait, alcohol mixed with this? All right, so we could buy. And so it's funny, when I come to other states back then, there's like these alcohol laws where they stop selling alcohol at midnight. Like, I never knew that existed till I moved out of New Orleans. I thought everybody sold alcohol 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, So we literally walking in, found a fake ID. So we're in clubs till the sun come up. Graduate from high school, grandmother who I was close to, she ended up passing. And I remember working at the Hilton, and my manager said, even though I went to church with my grandmother, never really got into me, and my manager said, hey man, I want you to come to church with me 1 week. So I said, all right, cool, let's do that. So I go to his church, heard a young guy preach in his 20s like you guys, and the guy shut the church down. And I went up to that altar and I cried the fakest tears I ever cried in my life. And I said, man, I love this, man. And went back to the club right after I left. I went to the altar, hit the club at the same time. But, so you got this guy who's just chasing women, chasing liquor, hitting the club. After that dude preached, I kept going to church every week. There was something about this book known as the Bible that I could not get enough of. I didn't even go to Sunday services because I couldn't stand the singing. I'm like, keep your singing. Just give me more of these Bible studies. Like all this singing, like I don't even need these songs. Just give me more of that book. So now I'm in the book, and I became real holy, guys. I began to go to the ladies' doors who I was sleeping with, meet their parents with a Bible in my hand, sleep with them, and get them home at a decent time. So I was the ultimate wolf in sleep clothing. But I thought I was getting them saved. I'm like, look, I'm getting them here. I'm getting them saved. I'm bringing them to church. And little did I realize that I was as far from God as I could ever be. And I always say I was the perfect definition of lukewarm. And God was spitting me out of his mouth. Fast forward, I'm still doing the same rhythm of life. Club, work, women. Look, it was just this big part of life, this circle. But something happened where this emptiness started to grow. The alcohol was no longer satisfying. It took more and more to get drunk. The women was no longer bringing any fulfillment. And it was like, man, I got to use gas to go home. Like, how is it going to happen? And I'm struggling, but at the same time, I'm still going to church all the time. So I had this guy who stayed 2 houses down from me. Hopefully he sees this someday. His name is Melvin Jackson Jr. Melvin Jackson Jr. was a preacher's kid, and he came to my house, and he knocked on my door and said, you can't have it both ways, and he went home.
That's all he said.
That's it. No other words.
He just looked you in the eyes and said,
you can't have it both ways. Went home. 2 days later, this is in the fall of 2004, he said, you can't have it both ways, and went home. 3 days later, 2 days later, 1 day later, you can't have it both ways, and went home.
What inspired him to do that?
I later would ask him the question, and I'm going to get back into it.
Okay.
I had to. Now that I'm who I am today. He said, man, the Lord just told me every time I saw your car to knock on your door and tell you couldn't have it both ways. As he's knocking on my door, sometimes I would literally open the door. He's on this side of the door, and this is the door, and I'm hiding my alcohol on the other side of the door when he comes. This is real, y'all. Like, you asked for it, right? Like, did y'all talk about the curse off your phone? Like, you like this is real stuff. I have my alcohol on the other side. Go ahead, Melvin. Like, at this point, go ahead, Melvin. Go ahead, man. Just go ahead and lay it on me, brother. All right, I'll cheers to that. You know, so. Literally, a woman to be in the bed. Came both ways. So, what I had to ask myself in this dates matter, I'm 19 with this, you can't have it both ways. So I'm literally doing this both ways thing for 3 years straight, and it seemed to be working pretty decent, except this emptiness I couldn't explain. Can't have it both ways, goes home. Now, here's what's phenomenal. As he's saying that to me, God is dealing with me that if this club life is so good, why do you have to be drunk to be in it? And if the life you're living is so good, why after you go to church and your mother asks you, what did you do today? You say, I went to church, and you're so excited about telling about the scripture, but why after you hit the club or sleep with a woman and she asks you what you did today, you say, I was just out? If it's so good, why are you ashamed to talk about it, right? So as he's knocking, God is knocking. So they double team. So in my ignorance, y'all would have thought I got it then. Nah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. So after Melvin's 2 months of knocking, I turned 20 that December 26, 2004. And I said, I know what the issue is. I'm not going hard enough in this. I got to figure out how to make money off this. I got to figure out how to do something, because that's what I need to do. This Melvin and God, I got to go harder. So January 05 comes in with another young lady. And she basically tells me, that after we came together, she was considering, could she potentially have a child? Now, I knew in a few days that no lady could possibly know this, but for some reason I was terrified because I never wanted children without marriage, because I grew up that way. And even though my actions did not reflect my desire, because I was doing everything to almost try to do that, I thought I was very safe at all times, but I was terrified of her telling me within 1 or 2 days that there's a chance a child could come. So I get on my knees, guys, and I say the biggest, most sinful prayer I could. I say, God, if this young lady isn't pregnant, I'll never physically just get with her again. And when I was telling God, Austin, was, I'm going to get with the other 99.9%, but just her. I'll take her off the grid. And God said, Andrew, I have you by the coattail. If you play with me like that again, I'm going to drop you on your face. And I'm in my bedroom on my knees, and I'm looking around literally for a voice because I just heard it so clear. God asked me 2 questions in January 2005 that changed my life. Number 1, Andrew, do you want to believe that when you die, it's over? I said, no, Lord, I don't want to believe that when I die, it's over. His second question after that one was, well, in that case, do you want to live forever or burn for eternity? I said, Lord, I want to live forever. He said, follow me. January 5th, 2005 was the last time I had sex before marriage. I went from going to the club 6 or 7 days a week to now going to church 6 and 7 days a week. The way I did it was when I got off from work, any church I could find that was open, I would go in there for service. The same mother who was praying at the foot of my bed when I came home drunk was telling me, son, you're going to church too much. I said, Mom, if you knew what was in me, you'll tell me sleep there. By April, I have a young man living in my house. His name was Manuel Carabello. All these dates matter. By April 2005, I moved him in. He had got put out of his house. So Manuel began to come to church with me. Like many, He stopped coming to church. Once he started making money, he got a car, and he used to always play with his sound. He always wanted to have this bump in his car. I don't know if people still do that now. Like, he always had to have his sound right. That was Manny's big thing. I said, Manny, I don't know much. All I know is we serve a jealous God. Anything we put before him, man, will be taken away from us, man. You need to come back to church. That's all I knew back then. It wasn't about making a disciple or telling. I was just like, come to church. That's all I knew. Come to church. You know, he's like, man, you go to church. And so I said, all right. 2 weeks later, this means a lot. Manny's car catches on fire. Same one. Nothing happened to him. Manny didn't have a scratch. So I came home from church. He was sitting on his car, hood of it. Windshield wipers look like the fattest piece of charcoal you ever saw. I said, listen, Manny, I don't know much. All I know is you can come back to church, man. Listen, if you come back to church, God is a forgiving God. You can always come back to church. So Manny's next words changed my life, and is the only reason we're having a podcast today. Manny looked at me and said, you think you know so much? You teach me. You think you know so much? You teach me. And here it is, this 20-year-old dude. All I knew was come to church. And for the first time in my life, someone looked at me and said, you teach me. In April 2005, I looked at Manny. I said, you know what? I will teach you. I'm going to buy you a Bible with a commentary in it and a folder. And we're going to meet once a week, and I'm going to teach you in the bedroom. So we go to the bedroom with our Bibles and folders. This was far before smart technology. Well, nothing wasn't as smart as it is today. It was just the Bible commentaries in the folder. That was the smartest technology we had. And literally, we would take notes. And for 1 month, me and Manny met. And the Holy Spirit, I believe, led both of us to say, well, what if we start inviting our neighbors to this? The first house we went to was Melvin's. Hey, Melvin. Me and Manny been studying together the last month. We would love for you to come and be a part of this Bible study that we've been doing at the house. And we're going to do it on my patio. So Melvin, his father, his niece, family comes, and we sit outside on my patio that connects to my old house in New Orleans. And Melvin, who said I couldn't have it both ways, attends the first Bible study with his family in the neighborhood. The next week, we start inviting more neighbors. 10 people show up. The following week, we borrow chairs from the neighbors who stay next door. 17 people show up. At the time, I worked at the Hilton Hotel, and they start printing out programs for us. And we put scriptures on the program. At the bottom, I put my name as Deliverer Angel Osakue because I never saw myself as a preacher. I'm just a deliverer. I'm not a pastor. I'm none of that. I'm just a deliverer. I don't know any of that. 25 people show up. My cousin comes and screams in the patio, puts fans up because New Orleans is very humid. For anyone who's never been there, you sweat when you leave the house. We begin to invite people from my job and more people from other blocks of the neighborhood. 30 people show up. Radio Shack is a store many of you haven't yet heard. Google it. It was before Best Buy. We go buy a wireless microphone. Manny hooks up the sound.
Oh my gosh. It's a gift. This is gifts. It's a technician. It's a technician.
Manny hooks up the speaker. And for our largest gathering, 40 people show up. And we have to sit chairs outside of the patio. Old, young, a praise team started. My mom's cooking after every service, so people are just hanging out at our house for an extra hour. And my uncle, who was formerly on drugs, is coming out in a wheelchair saying, y'all keep coming. He's getting better. And then at that point, you'll see just a regular 25 people just rotating of all ages from the neighborhood. And it was the first encounter. And 1 week I walked around the block with Melvin and said, man, I didn't ask for any of this. And I just cried in his arms because the weight of this was something at 20 I couldn't understand, and Melvin just held me as we walked around the block. And then I was getting ready to preach about Gideon the following week. And I began to pass out flyers about Jesus on this particular day. I couldn't sleep. I just passed out flyers. And as I made it back to my neighborhood, a man named Bob Willis said, Andrew, what you doing? I said, man, I'm passing out flyers, Mr. Willis. He said, boy, get in this house, And he cuts on the TV, and I'll never forget it. He says, it was a 2-2-3 when it hit Florida. This storm and hurricane has done hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage, killed more than a dozen people, and we're asking for anyone who can to get out the city now, is what the mayor said at the time. His name was Ray Nagin. I went to work. I was working at the number 3 steakhouse. It was called Dickie Brennan's. They was like, we rented a hotel on the corner right here, Bourbon, for whoever wants to stay. It's high off the ground. This is a real story. It's high off the ground. We're letting you go. This is a real, man, this is real. Young dude let me say, yeah, we're going to rent the top level and get drunk. This dude literally said next to me. So I went to my mom and said, Mom, we get a boat. We're going to be all right. I was being funny. So we said, cool, we'll pack a few clothes and we'll be back home. Stay in the upper 9th ward of New Orleans. Pack up my stuff, was getting ready to preach about Gideon, come back, and we leave New Orleans on a Sunday night, make it to Memphis 12 hours later. The next morning, Hurricane Katrina hit. And it was the first time in our life we lost a 4-bedroom house and 2 cars in one day and made it to Tennessee homeless. And I've been saying the same story for the last 20 years. It's 2025. This was 20 years ago. Number one, that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And storms have a way of getting us to where we need to be. And so the year of Katrina, that word Katrina means to cleanse. It was the same year God cleansed my life. And all of us together were able to spread the gospel one good time in our neighborhood and then make it to all new cities to take that message throughout the country. So there's more that happens once we get to Memphis. I'll pause there and say that kind of was our welcome to Tennessee.
So what year was that? Like when that, I forget.
05.
05.
Exactly
Okay.
20 years.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Gosh. And then you go to Memphis
Mm-hmm.
and
So there's a lot that happened.
yeah, no, there's a ton of, yeah.
Kind of.
Damn. Yeah. So I guess you got any questions?
No, I'm just drinking from a fire hydrant. I know.
Yeah.
Just chilling.
Cause I know there's just so much in between, and like, I just really appreciate you sharing your story, man. Cause it's funny to see the whole journey and then no one just sitting in the car with you. Like you understood, like the Lord brought you through some stuff. So you sit with a guy, you understand. And that's what I really appreciated most. That I've sat with a lot of people who give you a lot of answers, but just I think how you did it. It's interesting how the Lord really does just prepare you like perfectly for what you're being called into. And like you said in the beginning, it's like you really don't have to worry because he is preparing you in ways that you have no idea what he's going to do. Like he's up to far more. That's what I'm learning in this day, man. Like he's up to more than you can think or imagine. That's actually true. It's like, so how could we possibly understand in this moment what's actually really going on? Because it's so big, it's multifaceted, it's massive. But you finally get to Knoxville, and then eventually, that's a long cut in between, man. There's a lot in this, and I hate to skip through that just for the sake of time. Maybe we'll do it again, and we'll do like the middle of the book, part 2. Yeah. But you get to Knoxville, and I just feel like I don't quite understand like how all this happens, but just like one of my best friends in all the world, just to really walk life together has been a great joy. But we worked together for a time, and then you just started doing something here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I really wanted you to share a little bit about that vision and like what it is and what you see happening right now.
Absolutely. And we are fast forwarding.
Yeah, we're fast forwarding a lot.
I would be ever remiss if I didn't say
I know.
3 months after that storm, God blew me into the arms of my prime rib, the sugar in my tea, my wife. So my wife was at the other end of that homelessness. So I held up that will work for food sign, and she's been rocking with me ever since. That part is a joke. But we have now been married 12 years, and we have 3 children. Autumn, who's 8, Alan, who's just turned 3 yesterday, and AJ, he's 5. And the beautiful part is we did not have sex before marriage. We waited literally, 6.5 years. Close calls, I want to be clear. But we found a way to take those cold showers because we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. At the time, I did not know that. And sometimes we think we have to test drive something, but the Bible doesn't bless that. If God can't satisfy you, he'll never satisfy you altogether. And if a person can't love your soul enough to wait, then that might not be the one that's worth waiting for in your life. So I want to at least give that. That's a whole nother conversation, but I had to get those 60 seconds in.
Good.
So with that being said, let's get to Knoxville. So I was a senior pastor in an area called Vinor of a terrific church. We ended up visiting Knoxville again because a guy named Chief David Roush told us that crime numbers were up in 2020 during the year of COVID, and violent numbers were up. And so we knew that a lot of times that would happen in communities that had already had challenges in those areas. So one beautiful community we were blessed to be with is a place called Ridgebrook Apartments. It's 140 apartment units. They told us at the time it was 95% single mothers, 1 marriage out of 140 apartment units. 50% of the residents who lived there were on drugs, and 10 to 20 who lived there were selling drugs. So it was as if the community itself was just kind of imploding because you had this kind of activity going on. And so my wife hears this video with these stats, and she looks me in the eye and says, how can we not go? At the time, we had a 3 and a 1-year-old child. That means go meant no salary, no health benefits, no medical. She just knew we had to go because they said no one else was willing to come and help at the time. That they had reached out to others who said, hey, we'll help. And the people who said we'll help never returned their calls. Mm-hmm. And so now you had people who acted like they had an interest, but once they heard the challenge, they decided to go the opposite way. Well, our mindset was a little different. We said, hey, if we have drug dealers, we got entrepreneurs. We just got to change the product in their hand. And if we got single mothers and single parents, we have heroes. That's people who didn't quit on their children. So we just have to focus on elevating leadership here, make disciples, and entrepreneurship here, changing product, and now we can bring transformation and be a part of the transforming of this community. We will never do ministry to the community. We'll do ministry with the community because there are people that live here praying. You may see the drug dealer, all this. But what about the praying people? What about the people who are reading the Bible? What about the people who are already fasting? Don't look at a community and assume because the majority of negativity is getting the attention that God doesn't have a remnant right here that's been holding it down.
Right.
We just got to connect to that remnant and watch God work. And so we got there, found the remnant, and together we begin to flush Doug's down the toilet. We begin to help people go from drug dealers to now having CNA licenses. And now these people have now begun to preach the gospel in their own community, pray and fast in their own community. And now we together said, well, we're going to name this. And we named the church at Ridgebrook. We named it after the community because this is God's church. This is God's community. And so that has grown. And while we begin to meet, we were reached out to by a local elementary school saying, hey, we're out of printing paper. So imagine being in a community where there was no money for printing paper for elementary school children to do work. So we found a way to get that $1,500 for printing paper. Then they said, hey, we can't feed our employees. We want to do a staff appreciation. I said, well, how much money do you have? We have no money. So we ended up doing the staff appreciation day. And then educators begin to say, hey, our marriages are falling apart because we're neglecting our children, taking care of other people's children. Another educator say, hey, we're drinking to deal with the pain of writing DCS reports because that's so hard to strip children away. And so school after school after school after school begin to reach out to us. And what we realize is that most communities do a great job taking care of students. You have national programs, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club. Here locally, you have a lot of other amazing organizations. But then if you ask, okay, what are you doing for the educators who are going in their pockets every day to take care of the children who currently don't have enough money to meet their needs or send their children to college or just have something going to date night with their children? And the crickets were the size of Neyland Stadium. There was nothing in place, not only in Knoxville, but anywhere in the United States of America that say we're open 5 days a week to help people who pour into K through 12 children. And so once we saw that vision, God provided a building for us to create the first Educator Resource Center with those same people I just told you about being the tip of the spear to lead it. And so now you're pulling people from not just the community, but from business owners, and churches are now partnering with people they would have once been afraid to go see in order to now pour into educators that no one has ever existed to pour into. So now we're raising support to finish raising that building, which will provide counseling, childcare, exercise, relaxation room, all the services that we asked the educators that they needed. We found that building to help provide it. So we'll take care of them personally and professionally and have a launching pad to do that, to help our community to become one. So college students from UT, for example, will be coming next month to present their architectural designs that they created for educators. So for the first time, you have students pouring into educators. Retired educators now come to pour into the younger educators to help them keep going. So now we're harnessing that, because if you're going to have great communities, you got to start with those who are with our children the most and not just neglect them thinking that they're okay because they're older, when the fact is many of them are suffering, if not equal to, but more than the actual students, because many of those educators are single parents as well. So that's what we're creating, known as the Educator Resource Center, that will open 5 days a week to pour into educators and their families, because they're more than their classroom. They also have personal and professional needs. So that's what we do. Yeah.
And you didn't ask, but you got anything?
I was just going to say, you said they're drug dealers. We see them as entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
I just heard Jesus didn't see a fisherman, he saw a fisher of men. You know, and it's just like, I just like really thought of that. And I was just like, man, that's like literally what Jesus did to build his church, you know? And yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was powerful.
Praise God. Brother, it has rocked out where I hope someday you can stop by, man. You'll be deeply encouraged to see even people your age who are now part of the movement. That's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
To see that.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Let's see. You didn't ask me to say anything about this, but like, you stepped in by faith. Like, you talk about moving by faith. You found a building that's actually workable for this, and it's right off Broadway, downtown Knoxville, and you are in the efforts right now. Y'all have raised quite a bit of money for it, but like it's leveraged like everything, like with everything for this. What's owed on that building right now?
Sure.
What are y'all trying to raise?
We, as you said, so my wife and I, in order to sign for it, we had to leverage everything that we have to secure the building. So if it doesn't happen, I have to come live with you and Shannon and
Well, I can't wait.
Hey, they got a nice house.
But originally it's 18,500 square feet to provide it, because of course we're serving, eventually 9,000 staff. So that's why it's so big. And so the originally asking price was $3.3 million. We got it lowered to $2.75. So for that amount of square feet in Knoxville with 60 spaces is a miracle to get that much. And so originally we were going to build it would have been over $8 million. So that's just a miracle story. And so they lowered it to $2.75. So they took off quite a bit of money for us. We raised between pledges and donations $800,000. So now it's down to $1.9 million. So once it's paid off, then we could begin to put the services inside of there in order to continue to serve educators.
Like, if we want to support that, like, where are we?
Oh, easy. ERC Knox, which stands for Educator Resource Center. So ERC Knox, KONX.org, ERCKnox.org.
We'll put that link up for anybody who's watching.
That's
encourage everybody, like, share this, and we believe it's a really worthy cause, man.
Thank you, man.
Really want to support what the Lord is doing.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. For real. Yeah.
It's awesome.
And anyone else, thank you, whoever you might be.
Yeah.
These educators, man. Thank you.
Man. I went to, just hearing some of those testimonies, I went to one of y'all's events that y'all did, and just the teachers that came, families that came, people that shared. Or I don't always say, like, I can't always say I go to events and I'm like, whoa, like, actually really blown away by just the stories and like the real impact that y'all are having in the community. And we're just like honored to sit there and watch and just really believe and watch what God is doing, man. And like you said, you don't got to know where you're going or how it's going to happen. Just stay faithful to the course, and like God's doing more than we could think or imagine, you know. And I watched that in your life consistently. You're that kind of guy, and just on to sit here at this couch.
Well, I don't know how many more minutes we have, but the pastor sitting next to me here, when I was praying through this move, like, brother, I believe we're being called to lead the senior pastorate, which definitely came with a salary that was meeting our needs and health benefits. And I said, man, I really believe that we're being called to this. And he was probably one of the first people, if not the first, look me in the eye and said, you got to do it. I'll be with you, you know. At least you can start with your mortgage. So I want to, on air and in front of whoever sees this, it's a blessing to have a brother that truly has always not only held me up personally, but has been there for our family in this ministry, that we would not see the fruit today had you not been willing to jump with us in that very faith-driven moment for our family. So I just want to thank you to say you don't just walk it, like you're not just talking on a podcast, you walk it, and I'm proud of you.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
What would be the big encouragement? Like, let's land it. Like, we can go anywhere you want to go. All right, anybody who's watching today, some of my favorite conversations with you is like, bro, just talk to me.
Yeah.
And what would be your encouragement to?
I'm ready to say it. I got it. All right. Before that, I got to highlight Austin, man. Love what I'm hearing about you in the city with young adult college students. I have a lady named Mary Ford. Just talked about her children. I love them, you know, who begin to come. Me and Anna, two young ladies who are near and dear to my heart, just how you've been blessed. And she said, I don't know if they're going to let me hang out, you know, at a worship. I don't want to interrupt. Thank you, Jay said. Yeah. I just. She said, you know, I went to this worship night with Austin, and I didn't know my children want me to hang out with them, but what they're doing is amazing, and their movement is powerful. So I just want to encourage you and say, man, keep on shucking the corn, keep running. It gets better and better. I know we're like 15 years apart, but it gets better and better. All right, final words of encouragement. I have to encourage these brothers. Love you too, Parker. Thanks for being here. Now, the part of the story that I didn't mention that you need to hear today. Am I looking at the people or you just?
Whatever.
All right, I'm going to look at the people for the first time. The part of the story that you didn't hear me tie a bow on was the part with my father. And this is the most important part, because I believe this is perhaps the greatest struggle of life. I really might dare to say this. And so I didn't ask to come in this world. I didn't ask, you know, to go to California. And I didn't ask to be mistreated when I got there. Was I the perfect kid? No, when I was a kid. And when I made up in my mind I never speak to him again, I then suddenly decide to put my faith in this man named Jesus Christ. And then I begin to open up this book called the Bible and read it as a son and a servant as compared to somebody who was just looking to check a box. When you check a box, you can read it and live however you want. If you surrender to the book, that means now this book leads, guides, governs everything about you and how you live. And then I came across this passage in something called the Beatitudes, Matthew chapter 5 through chapter 7. Within this, it says, if you forgive others their sins, I will forgive you your sins. If you do not forgive others their sins, I cannot forgive you of your sins. And the man that came to my heart is the one that I believe didn't deserve to be forgiven. How could he deserve to be forgiven? I'm just a child, and you weren't there for me when I needed you. But then I had to ask myself, if this Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through him, then how could I have expected to get there? I couldn't manipulate my way out of this one. I couldn't think of another entry point. You know, he didn't know about it. But then I made that phone call because I realized unforgiveness wasn't worth my eternity. And then I remembered how many women, how many drinks, how many tears I made my mama cry. And I looked at, man, if God could forgive me for the wretch I am, how can I withhold what I've been given from a man who didn't even know what to do? I called him up and began to just pray with him. I said, Dad, let me pray with you before we hang up. Then a few years later, we became business partners, and I looked at him in California's convention center, and I said, Dad, why weren't you there for me when I needed you? Why didn't you stand up for me when I needed you to? And as a 25-year-old man, he looked at me and said, son, you think I didn't want to be there for you? I just didn't know how. my dad, but then pass about 3 years after that, and I would speak at his funeral. And that stepmother was the one who invited me to speak, asked me to get a taco truck. Guess what I did? I bought that taco truck. And my dad's words have now been preached to thousands of people that you think I didn't want to, I just didn't know how. My greatest fear for the body of Christ and for you today is that you are holding unforgiveness against people who doesn't know how. That you're looking at how old they are you looking at a manager or a boss or a sister or a brother or a parent or a relative or a friend, and you're thinking you're following God. But the fact is, if you're harboring unforgiveness, there is nothing about you that God can ever forgive. You know how. You've been given every tool. You've been given the power. You've been given his presence. You know how. So allow what you know how to do help you better get to know him. This is what Resurrection Sunday is all about. You now get the opportunity to walk in resurrection power, which means people you deemed as dead.
Woo! You get excited for your screen? People you deemed as dead. They used to say when I was growing up, you dead to me. You can now resurrect and forgive. I'm not saying that they all will come into your life again. I'm not saying that all will become peaches and cream, because there are people who've done some very dark things, and I get it. But boy, you do not want to be the one to miss God, because you're holding resentment and anger and bitterness and rage against people who don't know how. God forgave us even when we didn't know how.
Yeah, that's true.
When Melvin knocked on my door, I didn't know how. But thank God he is not man, and neither do we have to be, because we're in this world, but we're no longer of this world. My encouragement for you today is embrace all of God's forgiveness. And remember, freely you have received, freely you can give. And the resurrection power in you can now call the dead things in your life, the stench of unforgiveness in your life, and bring new life to it so you can walk in his power with love. I love you. So great to meet you. I hope I get to see you face to face someday. Blessings.
Thanks, bud.
You, sir. Love you, man.
Word.
Yeah.
Just appreciate you understand.
So good.
I've been telling
Fired up.
like, makes sense. That's why I'm still sitting here. You know, I'm like, just appreciate you, man. What an honor. And just thanking the Lord for you today, man. Just an honor to sit with you, as always. Be friends, brothers.
Yeah.
Pretty excited, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else, fella? Good, man. Can't wait for next.
This is so good. There will be a next time. There will be a next time.
And we're gonna start a podcast. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
So coming soon. We're
Field trip. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we're-
call it field trip.
gonna
Let's
start a
do
new
it. We're
podcast
gonna
called
see.
Field
I'm gonna give it a shot. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I think I'm gonna start a field trip.
Field trip.
Do it. I got
Mr. Rogers 2.0.
Let's go,
A
baby.
little bit different, you know. Field trips only.
Let's do it, bro. Oh man.
Well, thanks for being with us this week, guys. Look forward to next.
See you guys.
Yeah. Blessings. Yeah.